Welcome back to the GTI project. Got a whole bunch of boxes of suspension parts for the car. Gonna knock this into multiple videos most likely, but where I'm starting is with the bushings. So, just out to Lella Autosports and got their Delrin front kit, Delrin rear kit as well. Now, this is for the control arms, by the way. The back of the control arm, the way it mounts it, you can't get solid, so they ship these from they're stock from the R32 Volkswagen. So put those in. Got some other stuff from them as well. Seemed like a pretty cool company. Got an underdrive pulley, and they shipped a bag of candy, which is kind of nice. Instructions are, I don't know, we'll find out. But let's get to work. First thing you got to do, like Muddy Car Mod said, jack up your car. Did that. So now to get this lower control arm out, there's a bolt that goes through there. There's two in there. And then back there is another one that goes up. So I'm gonna start disconnecting all of that. This might look a little different than if you're just doing this by itself, because while I'm in here, I'm also gonna be taking out the stock suspension and putting in these new coilovers from Godspeed, I think it's the company. I also have got some camber bolts for the front, camber shims for the rear, or easy shims, but I'm gonna be doing it for camber in the rear. So a lot of work to do on this car to get it ready for racing. So let's get to work. So when you're taking off these control arms, I'll show you the bolts. You got a 19 millimeter here, and there's a couple of, you could take these three off, but there's a 17 millimeter right there that drops that out. And then back here, you have a single 19 right there that just goes straight in. Take that one out, take that one out, and that one. That one, if you put a hammer through or a long screwdriver or something like that, you can hit it down. And then this one just kind of pops down. And that one was kind of a pain. Oh yeah, there's this one, 19. That's for the anti-roll bar. If you have a GTI or one of the Mark IIs that have it, then you disconnect that as well. But once that's done, I had a lot of trouble with the back one, because here's the passenger side. So this is back there. That's that back one. There's a sleeve in there. You see how tore up the sleeve is? The sleeve is slightly longer than the bushing. So when you're trying to pull it out, it got stuck on that side, and I just had to wrench it out. If you're putting stock bushings back in, you will need the sleeve. But if you're putting the R32 bushings, you won't need the sleeve, because it's a smaller diameter and it doesn't need the sleeve as the bushing. But yeah, get those bolts off, and that just essentially drops off, and it just kind of rests there, waiting for you to put it back in. I'm going to clean this one up before I put it back in. All right, I'm doing a couple things trying to push this bearing out. I used the ball joint spreader, which I don't have the right size cups apparently, but what I found that really works is putting it in the vise, and then I got a socket, and then just hammering it, and it's coming out. So if you're having trouble getting it out, maybe don't try the 50-ton press like I got over there, or the ball joint remover, and just put it in a vise and hit it with a hammer. One thing that helped was I cut off the excess rubber around the top, so that way there's less rubber to push through the hole. So I'm just going to keep slamming that with the sledge, and it should go through. So I didn't show any video, I think, of me pressing in these bushings, but they're supposed to, the Delrin bushings are supposed to kind of slide in pretty easily, and they didn't. I pressed them in. I probably should have not pressed them in. I contacted the company that sold me these. And then I recently measured them with my calipers, which I should have done first, and realized that, yeah, these need to be, these are too thick by 0.2 millimeters, I think. Anyway, so I'm gonna press this one out. And last time you saw these were the normal color. I decided to paint them. I had them out of the car, so I cleaned them up and threw some paint on them one night. It's 20 degrees in the shop, but I hung them over a oil heater, and they seem to be doing okay. I mean, you're not gonna see it underneath the car. I figured I'd add a little flare. Anyway, I'm gonna press these back out and try to maybe sand these down or contact the company and see if they'll cut them a little bit smaller. They've been pretty responsive, so that's nice. So we'll give that a shot. Anyway, back to work. I'm gonna press this thing out. I'm just using a ball joint kit thing from Harbor Freight. It hasn't worked on everything, but it's worked on most things. So I'm gonna keep going. So this has definitely turned into more of a project than I want. I pressed the Delrin bushing out of there. That's the one that's on that thing that I just made. I took this with my die grinder or Dremel, and I really cleaned this up inside and actually took off more as neatly as I could. And it still doesn't fit. I measured it. Maybe I'll put the measurements on the screen. It's off by like 0.2 millimeters. So what I'm doing is I made this little jig out of a bolt and some electrical tape, and I jammed it on there so that way I can spin it kind of like a lathe, which I don't have. And I'm just running the drill and then running this sandpaper on there to take off material. And I'm going to try to grind it down to fit in there. The company said they might be able to make new ones, but I mean, if this works, I can just get it done, which kind of sucks that I have to do this. But they said apparently the Mark, or just I guess the Volkswagens in general, these bits are not, they're like made in a bunch of different factories, so they're all over the place as far as tolerances. So yeah, I don't know. I'm going to grind this one down until it kind of mostly fits in by hand, and then we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to get back to work, see if that does what I need it to do. All right, my little makeshift thing here to slide this thing on worked really well. So you can see with this control arm, it kind of goes in, and I'm able to get it in there pretty easily, and I can get it out pretty easily. But on this control arm, it's really tight. Actually, I can't even get it in by hand. So, oh jeez. Yeah, now it's kind of stuck. Anyway, that seemed to work. So, yeah, if I go in from the other side, I'm gonna end up putting this one in this arm because it's tighter. I got tired of doing this with 120 grit, so I switched to 60 grit. And it was much faster. You can see there's a whole bunch of Delrin dust here. Anyway, that worked out pretty well. So I'm going to go back to 60 grit on this one, and then I'll put it into this arm, and then I'll take this one and turn it down for that, because that is definitely stuck there. But that works pretty well. I just wrapped black tape around this just big bolt that I had, and then I jammed that the bushing on, or the bearing on there. Or bushing, I guess. Put it in my drill and use it like a lathe, and that seemed to work. So it's a lot faster than sending this back to the company and waiting and all that. It's work on my part, but I don't know, it's better than nothing. So I'm gonna put that back in and turn down the other one and get in the car. All right, so I got this thing pressed in, and it is pressed in all the way. Like there's no more gap for that to go in. And they tell me that this little end ring is supposed to fit over it. And now, of course, because I had to sand this down to make it fit inside, this is too big of a ring. And I was wrong. I keep saying, I think in the millimeters, I kept saying 0.2 is actually off by 1 millimeter. But anyway, but you can see that it's loose, and now, yeah, it keeps falling off. When it's on there, it doesn't go on maybe half, and yep. Anyway, I don't know. I'm gonna reach out to them and see how it goes. All right, I got the passenger side in. Now I'm working on the driver's side. The best way to do this, I'm not doing a time lapse because, well, good music's on. I'm doing that. Anyway, get the front in, get the bolt in. It's not tightened down. It's just kind of mostly in there. and then start to get the rear in, but going up, it needs to be angled that way, which means this needs to go up. So what I found is put that bolt in. Now this is not lined up to that. So I put a jack underneath the rotor and push up. And you'll see that if I push up, I'm using my foot, super OSHA approved here. But you see how when it goes up, it gives room for this to go up. And then this can be slid into the little receiver there. And that's what I did on the other side. I got it to slide in. Once this is slid in most of the way and I get the bolt in it, then I can really jack this all the way up, because the flatter this is this way, the easier it is to get that bolt going straight in through that back bushing. So there you go. Front bushing in, lift up on this, get this into the bottom of the, whatever that thing is, and then jack it up, and you can get that back one in pretty easy. And then you'd be able to get the other one in. My shitty paint job in 18-degree weather looks very stark compared to the oily mess of the rest of the car. But hey, it's a race car. I had it out, might as well. All right, got the last control arm put in. That was fairly easy. Like I said, that bolt in first, then lift up on this side with the jack, get that one in, and then once that one's in and that one's mostly tight, jack this up until almost the car's about to come off the ground, and then that last bolt back there will go straight up and should tighten in. Then you get your control, or your, if you have one, anti-roll bar, get that put back in, and then torque it all down. I'm not torquing this down because I've got a lot more work. I've got steel braided brake lines on the way, and then next I'm gonna start on putting the coilovers on the car. Got them here. They're pink because whatever, Godspeed. That's the brand. Anyway, gonna put those on next, and then get the rear Delrin bushings into the swing arm in the rear, all from Lella. So far their support's been pretty responsive, which is cool because the bushings totally didn't fit. They were off by 1 millimeter, and then I had to shave those down and shave down the rings that put them in. But after I did that, it seemed to fit fine. So I guess your results may vary. Apparently there's a lot of variability in the front control arms depending on where the car is manufactured. This one is manufactured in Pennsylvania, and a lot of the other ones are manufactured in Mexico, apparently, at least what I looked up. My last like 3 Volkswagens were all made in Mexico, and one of them was made in Germany, actually. But anyway, thanks for watching. That's it for this. Like I said, I got a lot more stuff going on in this car. Next video maybe is either going to be the coilovers or the rear Delrin bushings. So check back for those videos and lots of other ones, like installing this 3-pound battery and my kill switch. And then I have a relay with the switch under the dash that cuts everything off from inside the car. So when we're racing, I can hit a switch and it deactivates the car from inside the car. And then I can also come out here and physically deactivate the battery. Anyway, check back for more. Subscribe and be my co-driver, and see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.